The CDC now says that unvaccinated Americans should not travel over Labor Day weekend, that even those vaccinated should weigh the risks of going somewhere. And get this, 2 senior FDA vaccine leaders are reportedly resigning amid their frustrations over how the Biden administration handled recommending vaccine booster shots. Bob Bianchi, an attorney and former Morris County, New Jersey prosecutor, joins us. All right, Bob, we're going to sort of take this a little bit in reverse order, but start with where Tyler was. Is New York City being such hypocrites over this, of the vaccine checkers not having to be vaccinated? Does that help these restaurant owners in a fight?
It may help them, Leland, but like we've talked about many times before, the government is going to be able to have a system in place to help to protect the health, safety, and welfare of its citizens. It doesn't have to be perfect. Is it a good look? Of course not, but that's not really a legal standard. But you can be assured that those lawyers will argue that these laws are arbitrary and capricious, and they're randomly set out. But I don't think they're going to really have a good case. I think the government's going to be able to do what it can and what it feels is best for the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens.
The CDC says that the unvaccinated Americans should not travel for Labor Day weekend. Do you see that as sort of a prelude to the unvaccinated can't travel for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I think that when you're dealing with a situation in which COVID is anticipated to spike during October and November, those who are unvaccinated are going to start to lose rights. And the courts have routinely upheld the right of the government to prevent people from going to places. And in fact, we've talked about this before, all the way back to 1905, in a case out of Massachusetts, the Supreme Court ruled that you can actually force vaccinations on people. That is not occurring here. You have the choice to travel or not. But if you decide to travel and they put a mandate in place, the courts pretty much have always upheld since 1905 with smallpox and with polio and with other diseases that this is a legitimate exercise of government authority, Leland.
I'm wondering, how recently has any of this been challenged? You're talking about 1905 and polio. That was in the 40s and 50s. Has there been any kind of modern challenges to government's ability to force vaccine?
Yeah, they occurred often with regard to vaccines required for school children.
Okay.
That occurs all the time. So this is really settled law. It's not something that's unusual. The difference between COVID and all those other things like rubella and childhood diseases is that it's become politicized, Leland.
At what point does the government right stop? Can they actually, if we take this to the extreme, can they go house to house?
Well, that wouldn't be wise to do, but legally speaking, the answer is yeah, they can. Okay. They can force you to have a vaccine.
We had this to put up, and I think you basically answered the question. CBS News, can you be fired for refusing to get vaccinated against COVID? If the government can do all these things, I'm assuming your employer can do even more.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, Leland. This point is the one that interests me the most. Everybody now has kind of switched sides in the political spectrum. Government regulation of private business is always a big boogeyman, if you will. And we've been trying to deregulate government regulation of businesses for a long time. Now, those who called for deregulation of businesses are not happy with regard to the mandates that these businesses have with regard to their employees, as well as the safety of their customers vis-a-vis giving the vaccine. And now they kind of flip to the other side and become kind of like ACLU libertarians with regard to this. But the fact of the matter is, I own a business as well. If you don't do that, look at the alternative. If an employee gets sick or a customer gets sick and you did not have a vaccine policy in place, that's where serious lawsuits can occur with regard to their malfeasance in protecting the public at large and their customers in particular.
So you think there's going to be cases coming up where businesses that don't have a vaccine mandate end up getting sued by employees who got the virus from an unvaccinated fellow employee?
So when we're evaluating a case in my office, we always ask the question, would you rather be on this side or the other side? It's kind of a catch-22 here, but I would prefer to be the lawyer arguing on the side of those that mandated vaccines en masse because they have been approved. They're pursuant to CDC guidelines. For those businesses that don't follow CDC guidelines and vaccines and things of that nature, I think they are exposed to a greater risk of a successful lawsuit.
Oh, fascinating. I know we are gonna have you back when one of the airlines starts doing vaccine passports to get on a plane. Thanks, Bob.
You got it, Leland.
All right. Up next, the newest chapter in the Democratic divide pitting AOC against longtime Clinton and Obama friend Rahm